matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a find.
We're going to help you do that today. Nearly 1 in 4 couples meet online. So we're getting tips on how to avoid the pitfalls of online dating from Emily Fry, who is a matchmaker at It's Just Lunch. Thanks so much for being here. So the first thing is, I think when you're perusing these online dating sites, is there something that really pops out at you or should about someone that you will be interested in?
Well, listen, online dating is a little bit difficult because you've got to weed out the people that aren't serious or are on there just to play games. So a couple of things you can look out for are make sure that, there's no what I call yellow flags. Maybe they're not red flags yet, but they're giving you a moment of pause. Take those, put them in your back pocket, and see if anything develops from those. Also, make sure that people are doing what they say they're going to do. If he says, I'm going to email you tomorrow, you should get an email the next day.
Okay, and if not, ditch them and move on to the next one.
Not serious, exactly.
The first tip that you say is don't give out too much personal information. And I think, okay, we don't give out personal information about ourselves, but then if they're not giving it out, then we don't get to find out about each other.
Well, there's some things that you don't want to overshare. It's Just Lunch, for instance, we don't give out last names, phone numbers, or where anybody works. If you're online dating, don't do that either. And listen, it's really difficult, but try not to Facebook stalk them before you actually meet them. I had a client who found her upcoming date on Facebook and then didn't want to meet him because he had a picture of himself with a bunch of women. And I said, well, of course he did. He's a great looking guy and he's single.
Right.
So try not to judge a book by its cover. Keep the Facebook stalking to a minimum if you can.
Right, but go on their profile that's on the dating site and look at that one very carefully.
Absolutely.
Not on the Facebook site necessarily.
Make sure that the values and interests that they've listed on the website or on their profile match what you are looking for. And we all want to be attracted to the person, but if if the person's picture is not fantastic, but you're intrigued, go ahead and set up the date.
Right.
I've interviewed thousands of people over the last 8 years. Some people take a great photo, and some are just cuter in person. So.
Well, and sometimes the personality, I think, makes someone more attractive once you meet them, if you really get along with them.
Absolutely.
Another thing that I think is so important for security, you say, tell people where you're going to be if you're going to meet someone.
Especially for women, it's better to be safe than sorry. So have a contact person who knows where you're going to be, who you're meeting with, and what time you expect to be home. Now, if you get on the date and you're having a great time and you go to a second location for maybe dessert or an after-dinner cocktail, let your contact person know. It's just better to be safe than sorry.
Or maybe have a friend text you they need you just to get you out of it.
Maybe you could have a fake emergency plan. Sure, that's always, good to have in the background, sure.
But the other thing you say, not only communicating online, but once you've decided to meet them, maybe talk on the phone a little bit beforehand.
Yes, it's a fine line because you want to find out enough about them to see, do you want to meet this person live? What you don't want to do is email for weeks, then talk on the phone for another month, because all you're doing at that point, and this is especially true for women, you're developing an emotional connection to the person that may or may not be based in reality.
Oh.
At the end of the day, you don't know whether the spark is going to be there until you meet face to face. So if there's enough interest there and you've got enough things in common, go ahead and set the date up and meet in person.
Okay, and when you meet in person, meet in a public place, not somewhere privately.
Absolutely. Meet in a public place. And I always tell my clients, don't do an activity, don't go to a movie, go someplace where you can actually talk and get to know each other. Just make it low key. It's Just Lunch. We tend to set up drinks after work during the week or a lunch or brunch on the weekend. That's what you should do for your online dating as well. Okay. And a lot of our clients love Wednesdays actually for a first date because there's no pressure there. You're having a drink after work or a cup of coffee. But if you're having a great time, it gives the guy a perfect opportunity to ask you out for the upcoming weekend.
Right. Well, some great tips because I think people really are finding love online these days. And it's tough to meet people otherwise. Thank you so much for your help.
Thanks, Dina.
If you'd like more information, you can check out itsjustlunchchicago.com or we'll link you there from WGNTV.com/midday.